the why, the what, the how, and the wow. I've got 35 minutes and quite happy to have questions at the end. So a tiny bit of background about myself. From the Royal Hospital School, I've only really mentioned that in case anyone's here, so we're going to have a chat later. Loughborough University I went to, science and technology, there's a bit of a theme there. Worked at IBM in Hursley, so Kix OS2 and COBOL and all that stuff in the very early 90s. Then I worked at a company called Vanco for 16 years, so I was actually the longest serving person there when I left. For some of you who don't know Vanco, they were a sort of the world's first virtual network operator. So we used to sell global enterprise managed services, telecom, security, and those sorts of things on a global basis. So some deals like Ford and Lloyds Bank and those sorts of things I've been involved in. But really my roles there was a number. So being there for 16 years, I sort of transitioned from pre-sales and head of consulting. I was then head of global products and services. I then had a strategy role, and then later went on to software and SaaS and some early lowercase AI, as I call it. And where I am now is the restaurant group. So effectively, I'm the group CIO, CTO, and CISO, really. I've been there for 8 years, referred to 250. And really the summary at the bottom, realizing opportunities, problem solving, making effective use of technology to solve business problems. That's really what I'm all about. But a bit at the bottom there, art, music, and creativity. So a bit of left and right brain. So very techie, but also very creative on that sort of side. Right, I've got a poll here. So if just bring it on. Where are you right now in your digital evolution? So bring your own device and cloud sounds pretty good. Now, clearly, these are sort of topics from years ago. There's a lot of people into process efficiency, saving the trees, and all that integration benefit and all that efficiency stuff. Some people I'm aware of and had chats with people because I sort of mentor and have chats with bits and pieces. Clearly, a lot of people are in the middle of doing the stuff at the moment. And other people, you know, you've never really done it, to be honest. You might have done a big lump of it, but now it's all the exciting and follow-up stuff. So it'll be interesting to come back to that. First thing, why? And I think this is my biggest, most important piece. It's understanding. So I've got a picture of Winston Wolfe here from Pulp Fiction, which is one of the films I like. And what Winston Wolfe does, he solves problems. But clearly to do that, you've got to understand it first. So speaking to all of your business, speaking to the stakeholders, your customers, all of the people, understand what the problems are. And the problems aren't just things like, this is slow and I can't do this and this is inefficient. It's listening to the next bit also, which is opportunities. So this isn't a sort of Musk and Richard Branson blue sky type thing. But I think the important thing with here is not just understanding the problems, it's the opportunities you're missing. So we can put a bit of digital, whatever that means, in to make a process more efficient, to put an integration in place, to remove a bit of paper, to make it quicker, faster, better. But it's important the opportunities which you're missing by not doing something, and it's where a lot of the vision and thinking and blue sky can come into play. And I think the third bit here is the risks. Now, what I find is when I'm speaking to boards and things, people go, yeah, the risk of doing the project. And it's like, shut up a minute, that isn't the biggest risk. The biggest risk to me is the risk of not doing the thing. So I found this graphic, which is exactly what I wanted, really. When I speak to boards and things, clearly you can't speak in technology because a lot of them don't understand it, so you've got to bring it to life with real examples. So what I would say at the restaurant group is when I joined 8 years ago, we had a load of old legacy rubbish in, to be fair. And what I said is, you know, we've got like VHS tapes, yeah? We're playing videos. Our competition are on DVDs, you know, some of them are putting 3D Blu-ray players in, but clearly the evolution going from video to that is online streaming content. You know, you can pay a fixed price for a certain service, you can pay premium top-up services, so it's chalk and cheese. So really the risk there, the Blockbuster to Netflix type thing is, if you don't change, there's going to be a problem in your business. Now the next bit is understanding why for the people. And again, the way I frame this is really what's in it for them. So, yeah, okay. This is social classes from the Frost Report. So it's not quite the difference between, that was the music, isn't it? It's a bit random. What I've got to try and get here is a graphic really is understanding what's in it for the different user groups. So from the business's point of view, like we've heard there about in Gatwick, people want to get bags through, planes more efficient. You know, understanding the business's point of view, it's not just shareholder return and value and all the normal stuff and growth and all those normal sort of metrics. But the business might want to be seen as being more forward-thinking, more engaged with customers, less friction for customers, more agile, and all these sorts of things. But it's understanding from the senior exec team and the board, what do they want to do, what problems to fix, how it can help enable the business to make it better for them. But it's really important, I find as well, is to speak to the teams on the ground. So that's little Ronnie. So this might be on the shop floor or on a restaurant worker or a guy in the kitchen. You can understand from them where are the problems, where can technology or process change and things help their role as well. So, and as an example here, you know, we can put technology in, which we have done, which can improve your food. So, you know, you can put a kitchen management system in, which tells that chef, cook it now. Right, start cooking that one now. All the food's ready at the same time, so it's not going cold on the pass. The screen can have spec sheets on there, so it all comes out to spec. So point being is we can put technology in, which means food is better quality and faster and to spec, and customers are happy with it. So quite a good return on that. So we've spoken to the business, the exec team and the board, we've spoken to the teams on the floor, but it's also clearly we need to understand from a customer's point of view. So we already do a lot of work with customers and focus groups and all those sorts of things. Where I've put competition down there, it's not just direct competition, so where restaurants and hospitality at the moment, not just wider leisure, and I think as some of our colleagues said earlier, it's understanding the broader picture. So my background from Vanco, I used to work in lots of different silos in lots of different countries around the world. So I've done a lot of automotive work, I've done a lot of travel work, I've done quite a lot with finance. And what I like to do is bring some of those ideas together, and especially when people are using technology, restaurants isn't the first place you go to when you think of leading edge technology. However, there is quite a bit there, but a lot of it's been robbed and stolen for other places and employed in our one. So the key bit here is understanding the problem. Then when we'll go into it is the what. Yeah. So what do we need to do? So this to me is all about selling the vision. So it's clear what this graphic's going to be. This is Goldilocks, and I think the right size bite is very important, because I know a lot of people who, let's go and do some big digital transformation type project, and it's just faffing around the edges really and polishing it a bit. That's just like a continual improvement program. And what I've seen with some as well where it's failed, and you know, one I've done thankfully went really well, is getting the right size bite, because if you try and do too much, it can actually cause bigger problems if it's all done at the same time. So, you know, you can scale up your project and program team and get loads more people and loads more consultants and loads more trainers in, but at the end of the day, your BAU business has got to operate. And if you just pile too much stuff on, you know, people's minds explode. So a good measure from my side is at the end of the project, which we did, which was about 2.5 years, some of the operators going, oh yeah, that's good, we could have done a tiny bit more. And some of the operators in other businesses, do you know what, we could have done a tiny bit less. So in my mind, trying to get the balance is very important. So next one here, this is Agatha. So she's a precog out of Minority Report. And this to me is actually the sort of more exciting side of the job. It's the vision, the futures and all that sort of stuff. Because what you can't do is just recreate an automated version of what you've got already. You need to think from a futures point of view. We can do this, we can get these immediate day one benefits. That puts in place a platform for future enablement. We can add all these extra bits on top. So vision's important, especially when it comes to talking to people about it, which is the next bit. So this is Bernard, he lives in my road. Jack and Ori, Bernard Cribbins. A key bit here with the board is being a salesman and being a storyteller. So, you know, if I just went to the board and said, look, we want to do all these projects and it makes some money and saves some money, it's all a bit boring. So you've got to sell them on the vision. So bound the size of the project, give them the vision, we can do that later, but we've got to do this now, these are the steps. Tell the story, and like Homer here, make it exciting to them. Because at the end of the day, if you're going, yeah, well, you know, it's a bit boring really, we do this and it makes some money, but if you give the excitement and passion in there and you see the teams, you know, our business has got 16,000 employees and 500 restaurants. And when you speak to them and they go, do you know what, if we could have one of these and it did this, and oh my God, if it had one of those in there. And then, you know, when they get involved in the trials, you can see the excitement that, you know, people are believing in the teams, the business is investing, they're listening. And these are a lot of the words I put in the intangibles on the business case was, you know, teams feel empowered, they're listened to, we're investing in them, we're putting proper tools in to do their business. Right, bringing it to life. I like using lots of analogies. And like I said earlier, I did quite a lot of work in automotive, so I like car analogies. So the car I quite often use as a scope type vehicle, sorry, no pun intended, because you could say, right, we want a BMW 316i with cloth seats, blah de blah, and then you could say, oh, we can have an enhancement, we can have leather seats, it has air conditioner, it has sat-nav, but then when you start talking about some of the features to bring it to life, an example there might be, yeah, I want a roof box, but I don't know what roof box I need, and actually I can't put a roof box on now. So you can put the roof box on the futures shelf for later and we'll come back to it, which I call the bookshelf. But you might actually buy the car now with the roof rack on it, because then you can put the box on it later. So do you know what I mean? You can play around with analogies and things. And I think certainly with a finance team, because even though I report to the CFO, you know, they don't understand technology, to be fair. Quite often I use analogies in the finance department to try and bring it to life. You know, we're doing a management accountant type project. We've only got accounts payable people, which is why we need to bring in management accountants to it. Whereas another project was a payroll project, but actually we've only got takings people and they can't do that one, but the management accountant can do the takings one, but it's not a good use of time. You see where the story can go. Clearly, sell the vision, we've got to capture it. So this could have traditionally been a business case, and obviously for smaller projects, you just, like you said, you want to sell the roadmap and the story, and we'll get there eventually. But clearly for a big multi-million investments, there does need to see some sort of business case. And what I typically do here is have the high level, look, this is the crap we're in now, these are our problems, these are the sorts of things we're missing out on, these are the risks, like we've said, of not doing the change. And then what we do is write down, firstly, the intangible benefits, so what it means to you, Mr. Customer, what it means to the board and the customer. But clearly, we need to capture the business case in a document and add it with some benefits. So clearly, for some projects, the benefits might just be, let us spend £1 million, we'll generate 4 million quid, I don't know how yet we'll get to it, but on some of bigger investments, they need to know where the return's going to come from. And I think the important bit here about measuring is to get the right number. I think when I did this big transformation, it took 2.5 years to do, and it's great, you know, on time, under budget, and exceeded the benefits and all that stuff. There are only actually 5 big tangible benefits in there, because there's tons of stuff. But if someone said, oh, I can make a cup of tea quicker, it's like, oh, who gives a stuff? Yeah, so what? But how do you measure it, and how do you quantify it, and how many cups of tea? So what you can do is you can have tangible benefits listed so people get the flavour, the story, the excitement, but then put some tangibles on there where it's like, you know, even your mum could come along and go, absolutely, I can see how that's going to happen. So what I typically don't do is go, oh, we'll make 1% there and 2% there. I can bring it to life. So as an example, a handheld till, we have 5,000 of them in our restaurants and in Gatwick. The point being there is I know I can get 5-minute faster table turn, I can get upsell prompts, you'd like a pizza, yeah, did you want a salad, because a lot of people buy them. So I know I can serve people quicker, the table turn reduces, at peak time, if people can turn the table quicker, more customers come in, so we make more revenue. I can optimize my labor because I don't need as many people, servers standing around wanting to type it into a till because they can do it on the handheld, and they can just go from table to table. So there's measurable things we can get there as benefits. Oh, so we've got our next poll. So if you have a look at this one here, trialing some with fail fast, that's exactly where we are. I think we're about 3.3 to be honest. So it's interesting to see the results of that previous one. But it's interesting as well to see there's still a number of people right at the sort of starting gates really. Right, so the next poll I've got here. In change programs, how much foresight do you employ? So really, it's more about how future-thinking people are. Because I know a lot of people, they'll come in and go, hey, we want to do this, can you do that? And it's like, hang on a minute, mate, that's a solution. We help do that as well. What's your problem and requirement? And then when you understand it, well, great, so that will work tomorrow, but what about next year when this happens and that other project? And a lot of people, I find, don't think into the future a lot, which is what I try to do. So maybe if I'm going through the other slides, not enough, all right, doing quite a bit. And that's my little friend Agatha, the precog, all about the vision and the future. So now we know why we're doing it and what we want to do. How do we actually do it? So I think the first thing I've got here is people. So again, this isn't necessarily the right picture of different types of people, but that's what it's supposed to portray. We need to get the right people in the team. So what I did for my transformation team is we literally stole people from around the business, because I'm sure we've all been on projects and gone, oh, can we have that senior operator and him over there, she's pretty good as well. And I'd just say they're like bit part jobs where they'll come in for a governance meeting every other week, or they'll phone up for an hour. Bit part stuff doesn't work, you know, you need to get a dedicated team. So I stole quite a few people from the business. I stole general managers, area managers, ops directors, people from the buying team, people from marketing, permanent members of the team for a few years. But what I did as well is not just take people from inside the industry, because I've only been 8 years in hospitality, and previous to that, lots of other bits and pieces, is getting a good balance of internal and external people. So we had a team of about 20, 25 BRMs, as we called them. So these are business readiness managers, and they handhelded a site from beforehand, selling the vision, the training, the follow-up, and all that sort of goings afterwards, and checking the benefits and things. But we had a balance of internal people who can do it, internal people who were trained up and brought on to do it, but also external people. So you've got the external people who've, oh, hold on a minute, guys, we've done this before, it doesn't work. But you've got the internal people knowing that's going to kill the business. You need to probably frame it this way. So it's getting a good balance of people. Most pictures in one go here. I think it's important to make sure everyone's on the same page. So we've already got our vision, and Agatha's telling you that these are the things we're going to do in the future. We're not doing them today. Yeah, we've got the benefits, so we know what we're going to measure. So even though we're putting this stuff in, even though all these other benefits are going to be there, this is how we're going to get measured on it. Yeah, there's the Goldilocks bit. Guys, remember, we're doing this bit. We'd love to do this bit, but it's so rocket science and it's going to be bloody hard to do. Put that, what I've got at the bottom, put that on the bookshelf, come back to it later. Clearly, you've got to get your team enthusiastic and excited about it. And good old Bernard, tell the story so people can understand it's a journey. This is where we are now. The business has agreed to get rid of it. How exciting. And this is what we're going to do. And my little Star Wars clip here, stay on target. So this is all around keeping to the scope. So clearly on a big program, there's always going to be fine adjustments around the edge, but don't start lobbing big lumps of project in, because one of the worst things can happen is, yeah, sorry, it went over budget, took a bit longer, benefits didn't come in. Why is that? Well, we thought we'd be a good idea to bolt something on the edge, and it didn't pay back, we didn't think it through. So all the ideas that come up, I say, start putting on this little bookshelf, come back to them later. Now, clearly diligence is important, so this is when I used to work in pre-sales, smoke and mirrors, I love that phrase. So the important bit here is when we were picking suppliers, you've got all your normal RFP processes and all that sort of stuff. But what I find is good as well is actually do some pre-diligence and trial the stuff. So when they say this, this and this works, great, my techie's going to turn up, my app company's going to turn up, they're going to code your APIs. I want to see they actually work. I don't want to just see PowerPoints and stuff. So there's a lot of diligence in the market, but it's very important as well to get reference customers. So what I mean here, this isn't just a quick phone call, hi guys, is it all right? Yeah, it's all right, I don't like him though, it was pretty good. You know, I'd rock up with like a dozen people from the team for half a day at one of our competitors, and we'd sit in a pub, because one of the pubs was one of our references, for example, and know your mates, and like we were saying for Gatwick, all your other airports and stuff. We'd grab our competitors in and we just talk openly. If we're going to be using the same systems, we don't want to know where it's good. We want to know, where's it crap, where's it broken, what's this bit? And you spend half a day, and then you've got a team of different people from different disciplines asking and understanding to contribute to the diligence. Clearly, the other things you need to do on diligence is where we go on to proof of concept. So when I arrived at TLG, they didn't even have a test lab. They didn't understand what a pilot was. So we've got 3 test restaurants, we do pilots, we do proof of concepts, all of those sorts of obvious things to some people. Wolf again, Wolf of Wall Street. I think the thing here is, I think it's important from a CIO's point of role is actually to be a good deal maker. So from my point of view, in my old job, I used to do contracts and negotiations and bring on suppliers. So from my point of view, it's quite standard to do that. But I know amongst some CIO circles, they might still employ their purchasing team. From my point of view, I say, no, I'm not having that. Purchasing can purchase commodities. We understand technology, and a technology purchase, the technology diligence, the technology, all that stuff is different to a commodity type thing, is my argument. The more boring but obviously important piece is all the usual hygiene factors. So the governance and the update meetings and obviously the RAID log and the risk register, that's a whole separate meeting just on those things. So I'm not going to go through that, but clearly that's all important stuff. Training, often people underestimate as well. So for my program which finished last summer, a big lump of the budget was actually in people. And a lot of it was about training and the next piece, embedding change. We had classroom training, we had on-site training, we had follow-up training, we had e-learning training so you can see people's things and spot where problems were. And we've trained everybody, but no one understands this blue bit, so you have to update your training and re-go. There's a lot of work we put into that stuff. And I think when people have trained and it's been rolled out and they've been trained and all that sort of gubbins, all that's great. Bad habits, picking his nose, this little boy. But I think the main thing here on embedding change is so important. So at the end of my project, so even though we trained everyone in the classroom and on site and in learning to make sure, we went back again to make sure we embedded change. So we looked at what all the bad habits were. We looked at a number of KPIs. You're not using that properly. You've done this wrong. You've raised these calls. You don't understand it. So we do a revisit to all the sites to re-embed the change, reinforce the messages, get rid of the bad habits which shouldn't have crept in. We might update the training material, all that sort of stuff. And the final one, everyone likes benefits. So again, it's not all about the benefits, but clearly benefits are very, very important. So I put Mr. Happy here because obviously the business will be happy if the project goes in, the teams go, we got the bite right, we've got the right amount of vision and future proofing and stuff, there's enough stuff on day one to get a big benefit and there's lots of future stuff coming down the road. It's important from the business that we get the benefits and we make the money and all those sorts of bits and pieces. But the realizing it, when you're embedding change in the chaining, it's not just remember how to use this bit of tech, remember this new process. It's re-hammering into the teams the benefits. So guys, we've spent a lot of money putting this in, and you do it like this and this. Remember, it saves 5 minutes ago, and it does that and that. That 5 minutes means you can get more people in. That 5 minutes freed up there means you can spend more time with that person. This upsell prompt means you can sell more prompts, so make sure they read what it says on the screen. So it's re-impressing the benefits to all the different levels. Last poll. I thought I'd do 3. So where are we on here? How much foresight do you employ? Well, I think the mix of colours. Okay, but could do more. Okay, at least no one's doing none. Mine, I'd like to put myself up in the Agatha bit. So I always like looking at the futures as well. Obviously, you get the balance and stuff. I think it's quite an interesting stat where we are. So the last one I've got here, out of the 3, where are you right now in digital evolution? So I know it was a great presentation on cloud, but like I said earlier, actually, is this the first one, actually? Have I brought the wrong one up? Digital transformation, sorry, that's the last one. So which one have I done or not? These are in a funny order. That's done, it's this one here, isn't it? Sorry about that. There we go, digital transformation, where are we today? So I can feel it coming, but you're not doing about it, and I think the play on words here is doing well to keep it at arm's length. It's like, oh God, that's, if you think back to my risk slide, the risk of not doing stuff, that's a bit scary, so it'd be good to get honest answers here. Yeah, just about to get on with it. You've been talking about, we're just starting to cajole ourselves, all that sort of stuff. We talked about fail fast earlier. No, this, we're probably a three-ish on here. There's a number of things we've done fail fast on. Certainly the platform we've got to help enable us do more digital stuff faster and quicker and better. That's been great. And then where we're not at the moment is certainly in at the deep end, or uppercase AI as I call it. We're nowhere near that at the moment, but again, it'll be interesting to see where we get to. Right, the wows. Well, call these futures, but not quite. There's a couple of things first. I think what we've got to bear in mind is when, during the program being rolled out and all that sort of stuff, there's a couple of things we've got to remind ourselves on. So one was the foresight, so it's Agatha again. Remember all that stuff. So we've nearly finished this couple of year transformation program, as well as the continual improvements and bits and pieces. We've got the foresight of saying, here's all the things we want to do in the future. We've got Goldilocks with a just do this bit, and then just right, and then we'll do some other bits later. And look at the size of this bookshelf now. So a lot of the things on the bookshelf to come back to at the end of the project were thought of at the beginning, but Goldilocks said, don't do those ones, it's too risky, we'll come back to them later. But clearly, during a program which might take multiple years, some other bookshelf stuff gets delivered, but it gets bigger and bigger. And this is the stuff where it gives us this enablement platform which we've put out there. So we've built a platform which has got like day one benefits, everyone's happy, it's quicker and better and all that sort of stuff. But the platform is there so we can build more bookshelf stuff on top of it. So that's all our futures being realised. Prioritised roadmap. Again, obviously, we need to agree with the business. And like we said earlier, it doesn't come down to me as CIO, CTO, CISO guy agreeing all the priorities. I'll say I've got an end-to-end understanding of the business. You need to work, like we said, the hygiene factors. You need to work with all the business owners, and if all of the leisure business and the concessions business all want this, that, and the other done, prioritise them. We'll prioritise them, work with them on business cases, or just get on, fail fast, and get on with the stuff. Well, wow for futures. Well, I've actually changed it now because, futures is one thing, but they're not really futures, which is why I've changed it to now. So stuff that's available right today. So instead of futures and future gazing and blue sky and all this sort of stuff, we can see it coming down the road. There's a lot of stuff you can do today. Now, I've put this tip of the iceberg there. I think the reminder here is it's obviously an enormous topic. I'm not going to spend tons of time talking about AI because there's loads of presentations on that. But I did want to put a couple of pictures up I like. So from my point of view, I see AI as more augmenting our natural capabilities. So we've got a Lego man here with an exosuit so he can lift and do more stuff. We've got Yoda, I never remember what that Jedi guy is in the middle, but point being 3D holograms for video conferencing. Yeah, that's quite interesting. You've got good old Gary losing at chess to IBM and Minority Port. So, this is from a long time ago. I think it's important to understand there's a lot of AI out there. Like I said, it's a separate presentation. I see it augmenting what we can do, making it better and quicker. I think another thing which is actually really interesting to me, it's some of the maturing tech. So a number of years ago, some of these were quite early days. If you went back 3 or 4 years ago, obviously some airports, people were dabbling in beacons and learning their ways. Geofencing and geolocation would eat your battery up on your phone, so it wasn't quite as good as it is nowadays. NFC, I actually really like that technology. It's annoying Apple still haven't unlocked it as an API so you can use it on a phone because there's loads of things I can think of for that. And then this bottom one, if anyone knows what that is, I'll put a question mark next to it, to be honest. This is virtual web stuff. So, like I said, there's a lot of stuff we can do now. It's not all futures. But I think an important thing here, which has been a bit of a theme through this, it needs vision and creativity. So clearly we need to understand the business, we need to understand the customers, understand our competition, all that sort of good stuff. But it needs a good lump of creativity and vision and go, do you know what? A lot of tech companies will create tech just because they can. But I think if you've got the vision and creativity, you can grab different bits of tech and glue them together in a certain way and come up with something which provides an opportunity which maybe people haven't done before. Now, I've just got 2 examples here. I've actually mentioned already. Minority Report, this is 2002, quite a long time ago. So biometric recognition, 3D holograms, the interactive glass, which we saw, personalised CRM, remember this? You know, he walks in, hi, blah, 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 I can't remember his name now. But he walks in and it's targeted marketing, so it's personalisation. So this stuff we've been talking about for years, but they brought it together 16 years ago in a film. And another film I really like as well, iRobots. Again, this is the balance of tech and creativity. But, you know, personal assistant robots, you've got, you know, your Alexa smart voice type things, you know, play, why isn't it working? You press the button, actually. Machine learning, all that sort of stuff. Self-driving cars, obviously they've been talked about for a while, but it was, again, brought to life in the film. So that's the why, the what, and the how, and the wow. But there's a bit missing if you think about it. And it's this bit, the who. So it's all about who's it for, and who benefits, and who wants it, and who are we trying to impress, and who's our audience. So I've only got a few more slides left. And I was technology, not so much English, so I don't even know if digital audience gamut is a phrase, but I wrote it anyway. I know what I'm meaning by it. What I mean there is there's just tons of audiences for all digitally type stuff. So we know there's loads of people and loads of connected devices, and there's loads of data. But, you know, hold on a second, sorry. More accessible. You can pick up your phone at any time, do whatever you want, etc. The thing about convenience as well, it's, you know, it's engagement we've got there as well, personalised real time, I put A/B tested. There's so many things you can do now with technology to make sure it's a targeted, personalised something. We've got flexibility, and flexibility is good, but we've had some vendors in recently, and it's vendor A, oh, I can do all these different options. And vendor B, oh, I can do all these different options. It's like, well, we need them to talk together, guys. We can't have 20 options. So you can come up with some vision and come up with a straw man and change it from there. So flexibility is good, but it does also bring in interoperability problems. So if I put my CISO hat on, you know, it's great having all the poodles and all those bits and pieces and your patches and all that stuff. But if you've got your TLS versus your SSL 3.0 and you're trying to use all the latest standards, but you need to allow some of the deprecated versions because of interoperability and people haven't updated their phones, and if they're on an old version and it doesn't work, you've got to get the balance. So obviously new tech, so many toys, and it's anonymous. So from a security point of view, people have got access to all of this stuff. There's just more everything, and you don't even know who's doing it. Now this, I came up with this funny little phrase in the gym. I don't even know if it works, but I thought it was all right, so I left it in. So RSTU, end of the alphabet. So I don't mean Google. I thought this actually. Really strive to understand the virtualized world of our XYZs. So XYZs are millennials and stuff. So again, on the theme of who are we trying to target? There's some colleagues and friends I know who've got mentors who are in their 20s. I thought, God, that's quite interesting. Now I've got kids those sort of ages, and I do find myself speaking to them. You know, I'm a big Facebook user, for example. I don't use Snapchat. So you got one of the kids showing me, it's like, I don't really get it. So I understand it a bit, but you need to understand there's different markets. I went to a dinner a few weeks ago, and there was a chap there who said he works on providing outsourced halls of residence, like some of us stayed in last night. And the interesting thing there is every year there's an 18-year-old that comes in. So they think they're at the forefront of technology, but half a year later, the new influx comes in. There's a new bunch of 18-year-olds who are even more up to date. So it's like, oh, that's interesting. But the point here is understand the people. It's really important to understand who's benefiting. You know, it can be the end customer because you're customer-led, the business benefits, the workers, and, you know, if you've got 16,000 people and a lot of them are in people's faces serving people, you want them to be smiling, engaged, and happy. Know your customers, and again, this is the competition, but again, obviously, consumer customers and their different needs. So the key bit here is knowing the who. And really, the last slide here is, I think it's, because it's a CIO conference, so I'll put this up. It's really just understanding, I think, the pivotal role of the CIO. So I've just put a load of I words down there. I think they all make sense. But we've already talked about innovation, integration, insight, ingenuity. I put vision on there, but ingenuity instead. There's all those bits and pieces, but in my mind, what I think is what's needed in a CIO to help deliver this sort of stuff to business is of all our little friends we talked about. So Winston Wolfe, hi, I'm Winston Wolfe, I solve problems. I think that's a key piece of a CIO. You've got Agatha looking into the vision and the foresight, not just looking at today. You've got Bernard, the story maker, to bring it to life and all that sort of stuff and make it sound exciting. You've got Goldilocks, which is the MVP, the 80-20, the breadth or depth of scope and banding the scope and what you do now and what you do later. Excitement, because at the end of the day, people have got to have fun and excitement, otherwise it's just drudgery and boring. I couldn't even remember his name, but Wolf of Wall Street, Jordan, that's it. Be good at deal making. So I don't know, probably cringe if I had to outsource some of my purchasing stuff and supplier and contract partnership type stuff to someone else, because you've got to work with them on an ongoing basis. I think employing left and right brains, so like I said, is, again, everyone's different. I like half my head thinking about technology and whizzy things, but the other half's painting pictures or having art up or listening to some random music I listen to on Netflix. Know your toys, know your people. And I think to finish off, it's understanding the why, the what, the how, the wow, and for the who. Thank you very much.